They think that I just come in there and look for knockoffs, and that's not the case. I'm actually a sharp, smart fighter.
So, well, wait, I'm here. Who wants to fight with me?
I really don't care who's in front of me. I don't feel like no fighter can beat me.
Demolish everybody, to be honest. Everybody that's in my way. The pinnacle to any weight division is to have all the belts, all of the titles.
Welcome to Bodywork. The Bodywork boxing. It feels so good to be back. How y'all doing out there, man? I just wanted to talk some boxing, man, and see what comes out tonight on this Good Friday night, man. I've been resting today, man. I kind of needed to, man. I don't know if it's some army stuff, but I'll be pushing myself to the limit. And you know that Rick Ross, push it to the limit. I push it, I push. I ride it, I ride. Like my lady be having to remind me, man, you gotta chill out, man. You gotta chill out. So I kind of chilled out today. I've been down. I didn't realize how tired I was, man. I ain't never slept so much in my goddamn life today. But I've been browsing and perusing, and I just been thinking about boxing because, you know, I love this boxing stuff, man. And I just realized one thing, man. There's one thing that I really, really realized, and it's a very, very, very ugly truth. That boxing fans don't really like the truth. Fans don't like the truth. That's the elephant in the room. And I find it funny how, man, when it comes to this boxer, the dude on the far left, man, you could say damn near anything about the dude. I'm just keeping it real. I'm gonna keep it real. But nobody want to keep it real about nobody else. I just find that funny, man. And like online, on boxing, it's just like because you'll gain popularity by telling your truth. It might not be the truth, you know what I'm saying? But because of your positioning and how you dress it up and what kind of lipstick you put on that pig, you could damn near say anything you want about Gervonta Tank Davis. But let you start telling the truth on somebody like Shakur, let you start telling the truth on somebody like Boots, let you start telling the truth on somebody like Devin, people will say you're hating, man. And it's like, it's a turnoff in boxing talk to me. It's a turnoff, man. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Cookie Monster, Bodywork, salute Cookie Monster, and mic check 1 2 1 2, sounding great as always. I appreciate that mic check, Cookie Monster. But really what it is, it's a form of gaslighting, y'all. It's just a form of gaslighting, man, where it's like I said, the popular thing is to say, whatever it is, like people say some pretty outrageous things about Tank. And, it's not many people out there really defending Tank. It's just people that are just in glancing blows, just kind of respond to what's being said. And they're called meat riders, glazers, Tankomaniacs, you know, things like that. But when you try to keep it real and you try to keep it buck and you're trying to analyze and you try to have the same conversations around other boxers that people have around Tank, they do it every day around Tank. It's somebody that it's a dude out here. This nigga always, his whole claim to fame, like everything he says is based on Tank. Like almost every time I go over there to that channel, every time I see a thumbnail, it has Tank in it. And he'll give this whole spiel. He'll start off shitting on him and then start coming around talking about, well, and all that surrounding, man. I see why Tank, blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, you are, there are some people that actually hate fighters, right? There are some people that they'll gaslight you and say, oh, no, man, I'm just keeping it a buck. But he says some of the most outrageous things. And I don't understand because I don't even understand how the people around him like stay around him, because their philosophies are totally different. Like they're level-headed. I'm like, and I'm not, I don't be trying to be nosy, but I'm like, I don't understand. Like, what are y'all gaining from being around this dude? I don't understand. What does he bring to the table? I don't know. It don't equate to more subscribers. It don't equate to more views. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody's looking, everybody's watching. You know what I'm saying? It don't equate to none of that. It just equate to, I guess, a feeling of camaraderie, or at least somebody always want to challenge you in your argument. If you're gonna keep it real, and salute to Easily Bake, salute Bodywork, salute Easily Bake. If you're gonna keep it real, man, why can't we just keep it real about them all? Here lately, Shakur Stevenson has been on the radar. Why? Because he has a fight, and because he's been doing interviews, right? So it's like, it's one thing when your fighter is out here and they have a fight coming up, so they're the topic of discussion, and then they're actually doing interviews and they're actually saying things. But when you comment and you have conversations around what they're saying, how can you be deemed a hater? It boils down to this bottom line, and I understand this, and I tell you all this all the time. Certain boxers, and their OnlyFans. Remember, the definition of an OnlyFan are these guys who only like that one fighter. They don't like the truth. It's simple and plain. Like it's no way around it. You don't like the truth. They don't even want you to analyze and assess their fighter in the circumstances surrounding their fight, in the upcoming fight. It's like it gets under their skin. It drives them nuts. It's like they feel so uncomfortable. They don't know what to do with themselves. They want to interrupt you every other sentence. They want to derail the conversation to somewhere else, and they just don't like it. I'm like, I don't understand, why do we do this? Like, I don't even understand why those certain fans like talking boxing. I don't even understand it. Because you don't like talking about your fighter. Like, you have no answers when it comes to your fighter. You have nothing to back yourself but a bunch of shit that you heard somewhere else that you just regurgitate all the time. You don't even like assessing fights for real. You just want to be down like Brandy. That's all. You just want to be down. Like, you just part of a faction. You part of a tribe. You part of an OnlyFans club. I don't know what it is. You don't like talking boxing, but we're going to talk about some things today. And we're going to go over some things today. And I got a lot of questions. And hopefully I can get some answers. Shakur has a fight coming up with William Zepeda. People have been analyzing this fight with William Zepeda and, laying out some foundations around the fight, right? Mainly the fact that William Zepeda he was first in line across the board for all of the belts. I think it was Oscar De La Hoya's plan for Zepeda to be saying Shakur's name. But even though he was saying Shakur's plan, Oscar did a great job at keeping Zepeda busy, building Zepeda around the fights. We can look at his resume. I do have BoxRec. I can pull it up. I got Brian Norman right now on my box rack because when I get the boots, I'm going to talk about Brian Norman. I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room and that whole conversation. I'm like, well, why ain't nobody talking about this? Because earlier this week, it was a whole different conversation. But for now, let's just keep it about Shakur and Zepeda. His twin, Bodywork, salute. I appreciate you. What's going on? But a lot of people are analyzing this fight with Zepeda, and they're looking at Zepeda, and Zepeda is a high volume puncher. He's a come forward fighter. He does go to that body, and he's trained by Panda. He spars with Sabril Matias, and he has a fan base. He has a legit fan base. He's one of the guys, just like Virgil Ortiz, just like Alexis Roger, just like, as of late, Jose Ramirez, Arnold Barbosa. He's a golden boy by definition, a golden boy, where certain guys, they always have the ups or other people that's on the label. They get more of Oscar support, and Zepeda is one of those guys, just like Virgil Ortiz, to where you don't really hear about any problems with these guys, and Oscar putting them, setting them up for, whenever he chooses to allow them to, move forward in their careers. I think when it came down to Ryan Garcia, it was almost like, it was a sink or swim situation. I think Oscar was still trying to coddle Ryan Garcia a little bit until Ryan Garcia had to force the issue for the Tank fight. He had to say, no, I want this fight. Because I think Oscar was going to try to milk him along, and but Ryan finally stepped up. It was a good thing for Ryan to get that experience. They did, do the 1.2 and pay-per-views, and it was a big fight. It kind of set the tone for a lot of things. I think that fight was the fight that actually set the tone, in boxing at that time, for big fights to be made shortly after that, because after that we got a couple really big fights. A couple really big fights came to pass. Well, when you're talking about Oscar and you're talking about William Zepeda, he was actually able to get William Zepeda up to have an interim belt, which means he can already campaign him as a champion, and he already got some of the perks of that, because you got to think, he went. How many rounds did he go with Tevin Farmer? He went 22 rounds. He didn't go 24 rounds. Why? Because the first time it was a 10-round fight. The second time it was a 12-round fight. Why was it a 12-round fight? Because William Zepeda can now be paraded as a champion of sorts, right? So he already got what he had got with him. I was like, so, I had a lot of questions, like, who has more pressure going into the fight with Shakur Stevenson? Is it Shakur Stevenson or is it William Zepeda? Oh man, you'll have a lot of Shakur only fans trying to tell you that it'll be William Zepeda, even though William Zepeda has no pressure going into this fight. Why you say that, Mike? If you listen, I'm gonna tell you, right? He has no pressure because nobody really expecting William Zepeda to win. Especially his OnlyFans. His OnlyFans get offended even when you're trying to analyze the goddamn fight. And I'm like, why do you want to talk boxing then? Why are you here? Why are you here? You don't want to talk about boxing. You just want to have a glaze section. You want to have a sausage party. That's all that really is. But the reason why is because I think William Zepeda is playing with the house's money. When you go into a fight, and I think this is where Frank Martin messed up. I think at that time, I would say Frank Martin messed up. I would say even De Los Santos messed up. You know what I'm saying? Like with the performance he had, where he did try to press the action, but he could have sold out a little bit more. And the reason why I say they messed up is because right now at this stage in his career, because of all of the accolades that Shakur Stevenson has, his Olympic pedigree, his fighting style, the perception that he's just like Floyd, which I don't know where people are getting that from. He has glimpses of it. He has an aspect in the fact that he's a defensive first fighter. He used to show more shades of it when he used to let his hands go a little bit more. He showed more shades of being like Floyd. but they are in two different stratospheres. I don't care what nobody I don't care what nobody has to say. Shakur's a defensive specialist, very good at what he does in his style of defense in his own right, but he's not Floyd. He's not Floyd. There are no more Floyds. There are no more Tysons. There are no more Lennox Lewises. There are no more Roy Jones. There are Tank Davises. There are Keyshawn the businessman. There's an El Cameroon. There's El Orgullo de Martunillo in Sabril Matias. Those are the guys. There's Devin the Dream Haney. There's Teofimo the Takeover Lopez. Those are who those guys are. They are not Roy Jones. They are not Floyd Mayweather. They are not Mike Tyson. They are not Lennox Lewis. They are not Sugar Ray Leonard. They're not Sugar Ray Robinson. They're not Aaron Pryor. Terry Norris. They're not Muhammad Ali. There are no more of those guys. There are not. They are themselves. They need to be talked about as such. And if you do refer to it, especially in my presence, I would appreciate it if you use things like, oh, in certain aspects, he reminds me of this and this and this. Not he is him. Like they do with Shakur and Floyd. He is not Floyd. Devin is not Floyd. You can't even say Tank is Aaron Pryor. Tank is Tank. Shakur is Shakur. So Zepeda, he's playing with the house's money. Nobody expects him to win this fight. There are some factors into this fight. Salute AC. Salute Bodywork. Salute AC, man, in the building. There are aspects in this fight, going into this fight, in which we have to actually really look at it. We have to look at the fact that you can say that William Zepeda has been more active. You got to reason the fact that William Zepeda has fought a string of southpaws in a row, as if he knew that, okay, cool. Well, maybe because all of the southpaws, with the exception of Keyshawn Davis, all of the champions with the exception of Keyshawn Davis are southpaws, which would mean that, yeah, if you know you went up for a championship, you probably want to get ready and fight southpaws. Nobody's taking into consideration that he's fought a string of southpaws. He's been doing it in the build-up. Nobody's considering that he's been more active in the build-up. Nobody's considering that he is a very high-volume puncher, right? He can take a punch. Why? He spars with Sabril Matias, who's not necessarily known for like one-punch concussive knockout power. He's known for thudding power, consistent, high volume in itself. So his punch resistance is probably going to be there. Nobody's going to consider whether or not Shakur can endure the same body work that Tevin Farmer did. Because when you go back and you look at that fight, one, you can question whether or not Zepeda has power. To a certain extent. Why? Because we can look at his knockout ratio. I think AC sent me something. We can qualify and we can see that the man has what, like upwards of an 80-something% knockout ratio. Higher knockout ratio. Knockout ratios do kind of equate to power, but we seen how Tevin Farmer, older Tevin Farmer, was able to take all of that body work, where it was a point in time where Zepeda looked like a shark on Tevin Farmer. Just body work, just, man, I don't know how many times he hit him with the uppercut, stabs to the breadbasket, all of that. We have not seen Shakur against somebody like that who fights like that, a high volume. The closest thing we were going to get was a Kid Austin, and Kid Austin don't even fight like Zepeda. He is kind of rough, rugged. You know, it's probably going to be a clash of heads at some point. He had to cut. He does that. He goes in with his, like an unpolished Sean Porter, with a little bit more power, I would say. That's what Kid Austin was. And that's why everybody was salivating over that fight between Kid Austin and Shakur Stevenson, because they didn't know what was going to happen going into that fight. And when we didn't get it, it was a letdown. Then we got Josh Padley. So we see Shakur Stevenson going there with Josh Padley on a short notice. he get the job done. But in that fight, we also see that he used his hands. He did what he needed to do. He toughed it out. He used his hands, and he got Josh Padley out of there. And with Josh Padley, because people don't even want to consider this, they just get mad that you state a fact, which people don't like, is that the man was an electrician. He got the call knowing that the biggest fight of his life, a life-changing opportunity, which it went on to be while he was up on the roof installing some equipment. And people, oh my gosh, you're just saying that. No, listen, the man was a fucking electrician. The man all day, AC, you know I'm here. The link is all the way up top. You know what I'm saying? But the man was a fucking electrician. And so when he was fighting Padley, he did what he needed to do, and that's what we want. We wanted to see him get the stoppage. We gave him the check on the block. The only thing people said was he should have got him out there sooner. Had a lot of people crying. But then when they went to the interview with Josh Padley, they asked the fighter. What do you think about Shakur's power? He said, well, it really didn't hurt. He said really what it was he was like, my conditioning, I was not conditioned like that. And he was like, it was more of the body shots. Well, Shakur Stevenson is in my boxes to watch. Damn near everybody that's in my boxes to watch do that body work. But this is body work. You know what I'm saying? But if you take it from Josh Padley, he said Shakur Stevenson didn't punch that hard. He said it wasn't his power. He said it was my condition and being used to being hit like that in the midsection, basically. And we saw when there were times where soon as Shakur did it, he hit him and he winced. You could see his face grimace that there was some issue with the hand. They don't even like you talking about that going into this fight. Well, will that be a factor in this fight? Absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, if Williams had paid the spars with somebody like Sabril Matias, who is a high volume puncher with thudding power, if they spar, I don't think that you're gonna necessarily have to worry about his punch resistance. Why? Because Shakur's gonna use his space, he's gonna use his timing, he's a sniper. And then when he gets deciding to step towards you, he done figures some shit out, and then he lets his hands go. Until he figures that out, or if he don't, I'm trying to tell you, it's like Tom Brady with a clean pocket. You give him space, time, and distance, it will pick you apart. If you make it messy, you fuck up the pocket, you make it ugly, you know what I'm saying? Like when them linemen used to lunge and hit Tom Brady after after the whistle was blown and all around his feet and all that kind of stuff, and he fussing them early, you can see a different Tom Brady. It might be some turnovers. Well, I'm imagining that Panda and them, they've been watching Shakur. They've been calling him. They have a game plan for it. You think they're going to let him run all around the ring and all that? You don't think that they're going to be practicing? You don't even think that the sparring partners they bring in, they're going to have to come in and mimic, even though they may not be able to duplicate Shakur. You don't think that they're going to have anybody in there trying to mimic what Shakur do and have him, cutting off the ring? Because I think he did better with Tevin Farmer this time. It was a clear difference between the first fight and the second fight with Tevin Farmer, even though they're two different fighters. Duly noted, two different fighters, but they are defensive first fighters. They are defensive first fighters. And I can clearly see a difference in Zepeda from the first time he fought Tevin Farmer to the second time he fought Tevin Farmer. It was different. Zepeda was stepping and moving, like he was taking bigger steps and he was more fast in his approach. If he uses that same approach, knowing that Shakur has very good feet, Shakur does a thing where he pretty much steps back a lot. He steps back a lot. First, hopping in and hopping out, hopping in and hopping out. He'll hop back. You don't think Zepeda's been practicing that? You don't think it's going to come a point in time where Zepeda is going to be like basically running around chasing? Like, yeah, he's probably going to look goofy. He's probably going to whiff, like how when Boots fought Karen the first time. He's probably going to whiff. He's probably going to whiff a couple times where he swing and miss for air or get countered or whatever. And if Shakur has picked up anything like any kind of semblance of what Tevin Farmer was able to do when Tevin Farmer actually shocked and dropped William Zepeda, then he'll be in trouble. But to think that it's not going to come a point in time where the volume is going to get cranked up. Why? Because they love to tell you this about certain fighters. They either only have one style, or they only have pretty much one approach to a fight. And a leopard can't change his spots. So I'm not looking for Zepeda to be anything else than what he is, which is a come forward pressure fighter with a lot of volume. Which I don't see him changing any of that. I don't see him stepping back and trying to box. That would be a grave mistake. That would be a grave mistake. That's almost like, and I hate to say it, I know a lot of these pussy ass fans are gonna love this, but we didn't think that Earl was gonna try to go in there and box with Bud. Yeah, I said it. Nobody thought Earl was gonna try to go in there and box with Bud. We thought he was gonna do what he did. So when you see somebody do something like that outside of their characteristic, you play right into the other person's wheelhouse. So if I see William Zepeda going in there and he's not doing what he normally do, where he's applying pressure, he's using his volume, he's going to the body, he might get countered. He's the kind that'll take 2 to give up his 3. Sabril Matias is just like that too. He might take your 3 to let off 6. That's just the kind of style he got. So you don't think there's going to come a point in time where that pressure is on, and at some point in time, because of the style that Zepeda is, he will put your head down. There will be a little dirtiness in this fight too. Yeah, he'll come in with his head. Yeah, he'll lean on you. You know, it might be a couple of low blows. He'll go to the bread basket. You don't think that it'll be come a point in time where those hands of Shakur will be tested? Especially given that he pulled out of a fight with Cordina with that issue. And we saw it when it came down to Josh Padley, that there was something there. That's not hate. That's analyzing the fight like we do everybody else. Oh man, you hating, man. Why you always got something to say. It was a video that this dude did on the Boxing Voice, and he ran it down on Shakur. And then somebody came on and said, it's always our own kind. I'm like, what you mean by it's always our own kind? The things that the dude said in that little short, everything was true. Everything was true that he said. People called it hate. But we love to keep it real when it comes to Tank. So until AC get on here, I guess I'll parking lot that. But like, if you're gonna analyze a fight, and especially the closer this fight gets, it's like, be responsible in the conversation, or at least prepare yourself to not be triggered when somebody actually want to talk about the matchup and not just glaze your fucking fighter. Moving right along. The guy in the middle, Jerron Boots Ennis, a very special talent. A lot of people are looking at Boots like he's the biggest, baddest man at 147. It's kind of hard to deny that. Why? Because of his size, his style, some of the things that he can do, his athleticism, the power. And then a lot of people went over there. They know that they've been over there to the dungeon with Boots and Bozy. And a lot of times, a lot of people got that work. There's been a lot of time where a lot of people say that, they got worked when they went over there. They got worked. Part of me says that there's still a question mark when it comes to Boots. And you'll have the people especially the people over there in Philly that do shows and talk about him whenever they analyze it, man. They can get on there and they can criticize every goddamn body else. They have some of the biggest takes about every other fighter, from Tank to Canelo to Bud. I mean, they can get on there and they would get on there and they would just spill all of the beans and keep it all the way a buck about everybody else. But let that selector switch go over the Boots. You're going to hear a whole different story. And I'm not with it. You know what I'm saying? I'm a Boots fan. You know, I took my lady up there to see Boots so we could see him live. Like, you know, we went up there and seen him. So it's like, I mean, if I'm a hater, I don't know what kind of hater will actually spend money to buy tickets and go see somebody fight. I'm not sure how that is, but I like to analyze boxing. And what I say is, I put him on the scale just like I do them all. Well, I say, man, if you got the longer reach, if you're the taller fighter, if you have been more active, if you're more athletic, if you have more speed, if you have more power, if you have a higher boxing IQ and everybody else, you have all those advantages over everybody else, we don't know who you are. We don't know. That's not hate. That's like, we don't know. It's like everybody was hype about Devin, and we gonna get to Devin, but Devin was always bigger than all them guys. But if you take somebody like Richardson Hitchens and you take somebody like Devin Haney and you put them side by side, Richardson Hitchens is actually better than Devin Haney, except for Devin Haney dropped himself down to 35. Richardson Hitchens didn't. So you're gonna look a certain way. Then you put the machine behind you, your background, your family lineage and all that, and then everybody you fight, you're bigger. You rehydrate better. You've been more active. You picking these guys that's slow or flat-footed, or you got the longer reach. You're taller. You know, all these things. More active. You're not coming off of a loss. Like, all of these things. Old. On average, Devin fights people that's like, on average, 10 to 11 years older than him. A minimum of 7 years older than him. We don't know. And the first time I was saying it leading up to the Ryan Garcia fight, I said this is gonna be the first time we don't have all the advantages where he's taller than you, reach just about the same. I think he has the reach advantage. He has more power than you. He has more speed than you. You have the better footwork. People can reason that you have the higher boxing IQ. Now we have a fight. That's why I call Ryan for the upset. That's why I don't buy the whole other shit about the Osterman. You know, I don't buy it. So when we go back, and I was also saying, well, if you rehydrate and you're just as that big, why don't you move up and fight somebody that's your size, somebody like Boots? Oh my gosh, you just want to see Devin get beat. All right. Speaking about Boots, I kept the same energy. I was saying, man, why do we always have all of these 40s? Coquille. Salute Coquille, salute Bodywork. Appreciate you. I was saying the same thing with Boots. I can know that Boots is a Ferrari. Boots is a Lamborghini. Right? Why we always want, don't we want to see him? Don't we want to see him fight? We don't want to keep seeing him racing these Porsches. We want to see the Ferraris up against the Lamborghinis. So you can go the way you go. You can have it however you want it. Like, you can, if you're the biggest, baddest all the time, where you have all the advantages, we don't know what you are. That's why I said, listen, man, all these guys moving from 40. That's why I was not excited about hearing about T.O. going up to 47 to fight Boots. I was not excited about hearing, not like even Devin for his. I knew it wasn't going to happen. I knew he wasn't going to go up there, because think about it. The man got ranked number 1 at 47, and he only fought at 144 pounds. And when you keep the truth about it, like, because when people say, oh man, because Tank fights at 135, when he gave the extra pound to Ryan so he wouldn't have to dip all the way down, they said, oh man, it's a catch weight. Well, when Devin moved up to welterweight, he did it at a catch weight, nobody said nothing. That's why, because fans don't like the truth. They don't like the truth. They look at it like it's hating, but they don't like the truth. And I'm like, hold on, why are you fighting at 144? Then I found out, okay, it was going to be a full 147. I believe that once Jose Ramirez said, once he said, okay, cool, yeah, we could do 147, they were like, nah, he took that. He was too willing to go to 140. So they said, nah, we're going to keep it at 144. Which, you know, we don't know how that would have impacted the fight. What's up, Boom?
Man, what's up, everybody? How we doing tonight, man?
We good, man. I'm just going over some things about this boxing, man.
Heck yeah. You know, we only like the truth. he only want the truth, but all these guys is.
Yeah, I was touching on Boots, and this is what this is the elephant in the room when it comes to Boots. We know that he's a bad man, but like just here recently, and we revisited this because I did like a couple weeks ago. I did this segment right here. I was calling it Fahrenheit 147 and how people were talking about it, and I was also using the fact that people like to use the divide and conquer strategy when it comes down to a lot of these fighters, because they try to make it to where you either left or right, you A or B, is blue or red, is whatever. It's like it don't come down to okay, the timing of the matchup, you know, prior opponents, you know, all of the elements. Like when they do the tail of the tape, it don't come down to that. It just comes down to who you prefer or who you rock with. So I was just like, okay, listen. They kind of did a number on the Normans through YouTube because they made it seem as though Boots could have fought the guy when he actually had Karen. And so Karen had already put in his paperwork. Eddie didn't do what he needed to do in time. And so the fight was going to go on regardless. They sent out an offer to Conwell. They sent out an offer to Norman. And it wound up being some bullshit. But only the Normans and them got shitted on. And because his father was a little vocal online, they say, oh, he talked too much and this and that because they part of the Boots tribe. A lot of people are down with the popularity of the Boots. I just like the way the man fight, but I'm not part of no tribe. I'm just like out here being an analyst, just like everybody else. And I like to talk boxing about them all. I got a lot of favorite fighters. I got a lot of guys I rock with. You know, so I was saying, hold on, man. Let's look at this. So this time around, when Norman actually get a fight, he gets some work, he got a bag, he going over to Japan, he's getting Jin Sasaki out the way, getting a big old bag, nice hefty bag. He said, listen, we'll revisit it. Everybody was trying to, they even doubled down after they came out, and even Ness from the Boxing Boys came out and said, man, for Eddie to try to make it seem like Boots is available, knowing that he inherited that mandatory in Giyasov, like that's like disingenuous. That's not good, like for him to do that. So here we have it here recently. I'm seeing things to where they saying that Turkey is going to proceed with the mega fight between Boots and Tio. So I'm like, hold on.
When did we get Boots and Tio though?
Boom.
Yo, when did we get Boots and Tio?
Exactly.
That's wild.
That's my question.
To be honest, I can't answer that because I wasn't even thinking that we was ever going to get that, to be honest. You know how Teofimo is real. Yeah, so I can't even say what I really want to say real quick. Hold on, I'm going to get in this car and get to cutting up. Y'all know me. But all I'm saying is this, is I don't even think people want Boots and Tio right now. What is so good about that fight? Because Tio shows off in front of fighters we know he can beat. You know?
I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it.
I don't either. Nope. Not I.
Tio versus Boots is Turkey lying to the world. Tio will avoid Ennis, in my opinion. Right. I don't want to see it. Koki don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. Why? Because it's a mismatch. Tio, this is the truth. I'm gonna tell y'all. Want to know what fans don't like? This is what fans don't like, y'all. And you want AC, but this is what fans don't like. This is the truth, right? Y'all ready for the elephant in the room? Tio needs to fight Gary Antoine Russell, the winner of Sabril Matias and Pueblo, or Richardson Hitchens.
See,
that's
so
the
Tio
truth.
Thing is, my bad, I don't even mean to interrupt you, but I'm about to expose this nigga real quick. Tio thing is he want to fight niggas that he know he gonna lose to and get a paycheck from, and then make it seem like after he fight this guy, hey, I deserve to fight Devin Haney. I deserve to fight Ryan Garcia. I deserve to fight this. You know what I mean? And that's truly why they not moving him how they really want to. Like, to be honest, some of us do want to see either a Ryan and Tio, you know, but to see Tio against a black fighter, man, come on, bro.
Exactly.
All that little stupid shit he be doing, that shit not gonna work, bro. That shit wouldn't even work against a little amateur. You know what I mean? So he's doing that against fighters we know he could beat too. So it's disgusting, man.
Exactly. That's what it is. That's the only reason why, because he think it's gonna be a bigger bag for the boots. And I'm like, no, bro. Like, you going up there knowing that people not really giving you a shot. Yes, you have a puncher's chance or whatever, but like, people don't want to see you move up because you haven't looked like you had the same power since you've been at 35. And the thing is, this is the whole shit that this is what I didn't like about Devin. I don't like how Devin, now look, they say Devin, he picked Regis. He made me eat crow against Regis. But a lot of people are looking at Regis like the weakest link at 40. So how do you fight Regis? You go play in the sandbox with Ryan and that fiasco happened, and then you jump up. But when you jump up, you're jumping over Sabril Matias. You're jumping over Regis and Hitchens. You're jumping over Gary Antoine Russell. You're jumping over all of these guys at 40 that can give you a real scrap to go to 47, and we don't know what you're going to do or who you're going to fight, because you're not saying you're going to go fight Boots. It'll be different if you were saying that.
It would be different if he was saying. It would be different if he was saying, "I'm, if I can't get Boots, then I want Barros, Brian Norman Jr. or Blair Cobb or somebody like that." Even, you know what?
He can't fuck with Blair.
No, but I'm just saying, it's not. I'm not saying whether you'll win or lose. Mentioning fighters that you can beat. It's just you're not mentioning these other guys that'll be great fights. To whereas some of these guys keep trying to talk legacy, but I don't even think they really know what a legacy fight is. They equal a legacy fight to the bag, and that's not it. The legacy fight often is not the most fan-friendly fight or some shit like that. Like, for us,
fight be the fights that motherfuckers actually want to see. What number one versus number two?
That's a legacy fight.
Not Alexander Usyk, not Alexander Usyk versus fucking Canelo or that.
That's not a legacy fight. Where we gonna see a legacy fight is where people want to realize it or not. The fight like Jin Sasaki versus Brian Norman Jr. is because that fight is going to define each fighter's career moving forward. So that's legacy to me. So when I think of legacy fights, I think of the fights. They may not have the biggest name. They may, in the beginning make you feel like, what? Why would you do that? Devin Haney versus Sabril Matias, Gary Antoine Russell, Teofimo Lopez. Those are three legacy fights for Devin Haney.
Right.
You feel what I'm saying? You'll get the bag, but you're also answering the question of legacy. Does he have the goods? You feel what I'm saying? So if guys are avoiding the legacy fights because it's not the biggest name or it doesn't sell the most, then listen, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? Because some no-name nigga is gonna be the dude that dethrones you and have everybody clowning the shit out of you.
Yeah, dust your ass off. Wipe your head. Yeah,
you feel what I'm saying?
On God.
So at the end of the day, people will always, if you try to duck these legacy fights, they're gonna say, when it happened to you, that's that same bullshit that happened to Munguia when he got knocked out by a French teacher with only 4 knockouts. You feel what I'm saying? So
hey, Munguia had no business getting in there with Sharif, but hey, they motherfucking thought all them fucking wins and this and that and the third. See, that's what I be talking about with certain fighters, man. Niggas be not fighting nobody for real and then thinking that they deserve certain shit. Like, man, this shit is disgusting, bro.
Yeah, and that's what we talking about, where, I guess that's what the topic of conversation is how do you really define who you are in this new age of boxing? Because like Body was cooking on earlier, Floyd Mayweather is not Sugar Ray Robinson.
Right.
Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson are not fucking Floyd Mayweather.
No.
You feel what I'm saying? So
Devin Haney.
Those you gotta run your own race at some point. Yeah, the accolades may say, you know what? When I look at Bud, I be seeing those glimpses of Pernell Whitaker when Pernell was in his prime. When I look at this guy, I see those glimpses of that heavyweight got that flicking jab that'll do you dirty like Lennox Lewis jab was. I see a little Ray Mercer in this guy right here. I see this and that, and I could say I see these tendencies in these guys. but never, ever, ever. And if anybody tried to tell me, I remind to me, you like the new. No. My last name isn't that guy. You feel what I'm saying? When we finally get to really see and assess the style of Boom Boom Trey Williams, then if somebody's telling us, listen, your boy Trey Williams, that nigga looking like, he looking like glimpses of Bernard Hopkins with a mixture of Roy Jones and a mixture of James Toney. We gonna say that, and for you, we saying it like because this dude watched those guys. So you're gonna see early on before he finds out who the real Trey Williams is, he's gonna emulate these guys with his attitude. But then when he comes into his own, Trey Williams style is gonna be Trey Williams style. The next niggas that come up may be like, yo, I want to be like Boom Boom, bro. No, the fuck you don't. Because we talked to Boom Boom when Boom Boom was an amateur. You feel what I'm saying?
He said, I'm Boom Boom. He said, I'm Boom Boom. I'm not nobody else. But I got a good example for you. AC, to really bring home what you're saying. When we seen Bacoli, people were saying, like myself was saying, man, he give us Big George vibes.
Yeah, exactly.
So he give us Big George vibes, especially when he went up against Jared Anderson. But guess what? He's not Big George, because Big George had to go against Muhammad Ali, and F.A. Jagba showed glimpses of being able to use his feet, pick and pop, and had Bacoli been in there with Muhammad Ali at that point in time, Muhammad Ali would have picked him apart using his feet, if stinging like a, floating like a butterfly, stinging like a bee. But he gives us Big George vibes. He's not Big George. He's Martin Bacoli.
Yeah. And that's why people want to, people like me want to see him, because you give me those Big George vibe. I don't never expect you to do what Big George did in his career. But God damn it, bro, just like it was fun watching Big George Foreman, because it's like, bro, you can't get out of the way of that punch. No, you cannot, because he just caught you with it. So at the end of the day, Bacoli brings us back to us older fighters to that. Some of the younger guys that heard of George Foreman but don't really want to go and see what his fighting style was, you'll just take the older dude's word that he fights something like George Foreman. Do you feel what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, bro,
like I said, and I'm a fighter, so I'm gonna say this: the comparison, right? We love the comparison. We love to be named. Oh yeah, you fight like Canelo. Oh yeah, you block like Bud. Oh yeah, you moving like Shakur. Yeah, that's beautiful. We love to hear that. But just know, at the end of the day, I'm still gonna fight like me and beat me. I can emulate and show you a couple flashes of things, but at the end of the day, guess what? I'm still Boom Boom, baby.
Yeah, that's all you can be, bro.
Bro. And that's hey, for any fighters watching, just always be yourself. Like me in these interviews, this is really who I am. This is really who I portray myself to be. This ain't no persona thing. Like, no, bro, this is really me. So for some of y'all, don't just think that this shit is just, rainbows and ponies and this, that, and the third. The nigga been hitting his mouth before. A nigga done, you know what I mean? A nigga done went through some adversity before. That's why a nigga know he could do what he could do. You feel me? So
yeah.
Good stuff. Hey, AC.
Yeah.
Don't you find it funny that Turkey coming out, or it's being announced that Turkey wants to make Teofimo and Boots? And I'm like, so what was all this shit about Norman Duncan and all this shit here? Because that stuff, that's not something, because Teo had been saying this was already, they were saying if he win, that he'll get Richardson Hitches and he'll get Boots. I really think that T.O. is jumping the gun by talking about Boots, but they're announcing T.O. and Boots because I think it was supposed to be Richardson Hitchens. It's just Richardson Hitchens got to get past Cambosis and do his thing, and then I think T.O. will get the hold on,
the Boots.
What did I have? Then I think T.O. will get the Boots. But like, don't you find it funny, because these conversations take place behind doors, and we already know, I always talk about this, there are best laid plans, to whereas the powers that be that's running all this stuff, they know ahead of time, because they have to know to actually plan their ducks in a row, right? So they already knew this. So what was the purpose of all the slander when it came down to Brian Norman this week?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out. I was like, wait, hold on. When I saw it, and then I was just like, oh, this is just somebody, whatever. Then I saw it on a couple of channels that I kind of fucks with, and I'm like, word? Wait a minute, why would you do that when Eddie, Boots, and then Daddy keep saying, no, we staying at 47 because we want undisputed. And if those other champs don't want to fight us, then we'll think about going up to 40. Okay. I mean, up to 54. All right, T.O.'s moving up. If the argument is people are getting a little tired of Boots bringing people up, 140 pounders up to 47 and dusting them off, then how are y'all going to justify T.O.? How are you going to justify Boots? And is everybody saying, all right, you don't want to fight Virgil because you said you staying at 47. You send Charles Conwell that bullshit offer. You do the same thing with Brian Norman Jr. to try to defame him because you saying you wanted undisputed, and he's cock blocking you from that, knowing you had other situations going on. So now you start to question, okay, if you got common sense, you're just going to question the fact and say, hey, wait a minute. How is all of this possible right now when you've been telling us all of this other shit for the last 90 days? Really for the last half a year. That no, you want undisputed at 47. How does Teofimo Lopez get you to undisputed at 47?
Exactly. So when people like myself say, oh man, I don't want to see Boots and T.O. I don't want to see Boots. I didn't even want to see Boots and Devin. Like, I was saying that because I was trying to get Devin to keep the same energy, but I didn't want to see that, man. I want to see Boots where he don't have all these advantages.
Yeah.
And to slander, like it's something like this gonna lead me into Kofi. He said the slander just to create traffic and get YouTube videos popping up. Turkey plays into that shit too, because he wants to make these guys faces heels like WWE. I couldn't agree more, but I'm like, to me, it's disrespectful as a boxing fan, as a hardcore more specifically, to where we gotta endure this stuff and we gotta take the backlash for having legit conversations and be called haters when we're looking at it objectively and logically. It's like, why slander, even if you think Boots might beat Norman, why slander Norman? Because he have a career outside of Boots. And when you say, oh, well, we can look at it like, oh, well, if Eddie and them sent you an offer for 54 and you say, no, I want to stay down here and I want to get undisputed, then by the letter of the law, just like anybody else, like when I say people will keep it real on tape, because what they did was when Tank and Conor Ben, they were just tweeting. They were tweeting back and forth, jaw-jacking, social media beefing, and Tank saying, talking this shit to him just like he did with Josh Taylor, just like he did with a bunch of other people. When they came out with that felonious $20 million offer and all this other shit, they said that Tank ducked Conor Ben. When Jamal Charlo came out and he said, oh nah, David Benavidez, nah, he's like, nah, I'm not, I'm down here, man. I'm not moving up there. And then he said, yeah, I'll fight you. Yeah, you gotta get your COVID shot. You gotta do this and you gotta do that. They said that Jamal Charlo was ducking David Benavidez. So now you send out two offers, and based on offers you sent, and them guys not saying, oh, okay, cool, we signed and we accepted, or them calling your quote unquote bluff, even though we knew you was gonna proceed with Karen. When Virgil Ortiz send you an offer and you say, no, I want to go get undisputed, they say, oh no, man, Virgil Ortiz was clout chasing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, like you can't have it both ways, bruv. You can't have it both ways. And I'm tired of this whole thing about, well, if you so big and you so bad, like to me, it's like a senior punching on a freshman. You know what I'm saying? It's like somebody in because in middle school, our middle school right over here is like 7th and 8th. And then 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th is high school. Elementary stop at 6. But it's like somebody in the 8th grade punching on somebody in the 6th grade. Like if you the biggest, baddest in the division and you got all of this stuff or whatever, we want to see you where you're going to be going up against some guys that's bigger than you. I have been saying this when it came down to Deontay Wilder all of that time. People say, oh man, he started late and he do this. But when he went on his streak, when he was just punching everybody lights out, it was all cool and he was quote unquote punching down. Like when it was somebody that was shorter than him, a stubby dude, somebody that might have been fatter than him, but he was more athletic, longer reach, more power, more athletic. That was cool. Man, he fight somebody bigger. Oh man, you gotta think, man, that man outweighed him by 50, 60 pounds. It's like, no, you cannot. Like I'm a subscriber to this. You can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
So I'll give Boots his credit.
No, go ahead.
I'll give Boots his credit for being who he is and having the skill set, showing glimpses or flashes with the flashiness of a Roy Jones, having the speed, having the power, being an entertainer. That's why we like Boots, because he'll entertain. He'll give a fight. Yeah, he's not perfect. He makes some mistakes, but we know he's a bad man. But we want to see him against somebody bigger and better, not just be up there sitting around waiting for everybody to come up.
Yeah, for sure. Now, what I was going to say about Tyson was, he was, Deontay Wilder, you were punching down and shit like that. And those guys, some of those guys, even though they were shorter, they did way more than you. For me, where I really started to question Deontay Wilder and accepted him for who he was and wasn't going to make the goofy arguments and shit like that, was the one fight that, to me, no Deontay Wilder fan wants to talk about. Arthur Spilka. Like, Arthur Spilka was putting on a masterclass on you. Jabbed you out of the fucking universe. Like, you had to go home and look yourself in that one good eye you had. Because the other one was fucked up because Spilka did that to you. You feel what I'm saying? So for me, I was just like, all right, the bubble is bust right now. Yeah, he a good puncher. He's got great timing. But the fact you started late, and granted, you got your bronze medal, same as Floyd and a couple of other people, but you didn't improve at all since we did this. Your best boxing match was when you fought Bermain Stavern the first time, and the guy you fought so you can get the Bermain Stavern fight. Those two fights are the best fights you've ever boxed. After that, you just relied on power. And this is why Arthur Spilka was doing you dirty. You feel what I'm saying? To whereas if it wasn't for that knockout, the much smaller, much less percentage of a knockout rate would have beaten you. And this is what some of these other guys just don't want to admit, because when I brought it up to them, who the fuck is this guy? Whose mans is this? What the fuck you mean, Arthur Spilka? Wilder knock that nigga into next week. Yeah, okay, but okay, we all saw the knockout. 1 minute he was standing there looking like he was getting ready to punch. The next minute he was off screen. There's nothing I'm taking away from that. But if he didn't get cocky and make that mistake, he would have lost that match. If you don't want to admit that he was being outboxed, then it is what it is. You feel what I'm saying? But you'll give Ortiz the credit for outboxing Wilder, because Ortiz was bigger. He was supposed to be another boogeyman, and y'all wanted to build up. Yeah, well, Ortiz is just as big as Wilder, even bigger than Wilder, and he's the same height as Wilder. So Ortiz, listen, everything is justified with Wilder because of Ortiz. No, the fuck it's not. That nigga's like 75 years old.
Exactly.
Like, come on, bro. I'm being real about it, man.
Exactly. So they do it with Tank, though. That's why I say, man, everybody can keep it real with Tank, because they can say, oh man, Frank was piecing Tank up. And I even say, man, Frank had a lot of success earlier on. It's just Tank started making his adjustments. He figured it out. He closed the show. But they can point out where Tank is getting pieced or getting touched more than what Leo Santa Cruz was doing.
Yeah.
Leo Santa Cruz was boxing superb up until he got, he went back to that well one too many times, and Tank figured that shit out. So they can keep it real about that. But when it comes down to a fighter that they actually like,
no, there's no realness. What do you mean? You're gonna get the what do you means and you must be a casual, and they're gonna attack you and try to downplay your credibility. Oh, here you go saying that crazy shit all over. What's crazy about it? All I'm pointing out is the shit that y'all don't want to point out because it's hard to see past the nigga's navel. You feel what I'm saying? So,
And go ahead.
Now, half the time they don't catch the fact that I just said that. You feel what I'm saying? Maybe they catching it like, what does he mean by seeing past the nigga's navel? What does that mean? It means you got a dick in your mouth, homie. That's what that means. So, at the end of the day, bro, I'm just like, look, man, I have my favorite fighters, but I've been a fan of boxing that, it comes the day where you just see your favorite fighter get his ass kicked. You just got to accept it. Some guys will be able to escape without that, but most of them, that's what you're going to have to come to that realization if they stay in the game too long.
And I came to this conclusion, man, and we're going to go, because we talked about Shakur, we talked about Boots, we're going to talk about Devin, and we're going to talk about a little bit about Tank. But in closing, what kind of inspired this is because everybody's talking about, like, everybody's frustrated with T.O. Now, T.O., I got on T.O. ass about, we in May now? I got on T.O. ass about 7 8 months ago. Right when he started doing, I said, because Tim Bradley was trying to justify it, Sean Zattel was trying to justify it, and I said, first of all, the black delegation didn't designate Tim Bradley to be able to speak on our behalf. And Sean Zattel, like, you're not qualified to speak on our behalf to give anybody a pass for shit. Like, that should be from us or the people that he's actually offending to be able to speak up about. I got on that ass right away and said, y'all just gonna sit around and let this go? And when we had a politician who comes on early in the day who was, oh no, I'm not gonna call him that just yet. I gotta wait and see. And no, we gotta give him the benefit of the doubt. That benefit of the doubt shit will get a lot of people hung or hurt. You know what I'm saying, in life. I've seen a lot of people be given the benefit of the doubt just for when they actually prove you wrong. It's way too late, and the result of what they did became way more drastic than if somebody would have nipped it in the bud. We fast forward to now in this present day, and everybody want T.O. to get his ass whipped. And I'm like, nah, man, y'all some hindsight of 2020 looking asses. Why? Because now they may have doing something that's offending your favorite fighter now, so now you feel more obligated to defend it. No, you shouldn't have defended it to begin with. So everybody wanting T.O. to get his ass whooped. They trying to say, oh, Devin should do it, and then you got people arguing, oh no, Devin ain't gonna be able to whoop his ass. It's like, yeah, I might see Devin being able to outpoint him if he do that shit that he did with Jose Ramirez. He might be able to outfence and outpoint him, but he ain't gonna be the one that's gonna actually beat T.O.'s ass the way T.O. need his ass beat. In all actuality, to avoid Gary Antoine Russell, to avoid the winner of Subriel Matias and Puello, to avoid Richardson Hitchens, which is the logical next step, which will be legacy defining, and it would equate to a bag, and it'll be multiple paydays on your way to get one of those big ass paydays if and when you finally move up or be able to get one of these legend names, one of these niggas they can pull out that just got a big name to give you a big bag. It would be an injustice to forego all of them to hop up and get your ass whooped by Boots. And by doing that, it only gives T.O. a payday, and it gives a soft touch layup for Boots. I'm not with none of it. So in all actuality, T.O. should be fighting Gary Antoine Russell. More logically, he really should be fighting Richardson Hitchens because that's what was slated. That's what he was supposed to be doing. But I see now that Turkey wants to do this bait and switch shit because that was on the map because they were talking about Alcatraz. It's only because Richardson Hitchens just got his belt. He deserves to be able to pick a guy where he can defend his shit and do whatever he need to do. That's going to be Kambosos, which is a name in his own right, which is a bag for him. It's a common opponent with T.O. That would be better for the storyline between him and T.O. So logically, it should be T.O. versus Richardson Hitchens, and then either the winner of either the winner of Puello and Matias or a Gary Antoine Russell. That would be logical. that wouldn't be a freak show. That wouldn't be another padded fighter on Boots' resume or somebody that we already know going in that we don't think that T.O. stands anything more than a freak puncher's chance, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And Devin, he should be moved fully to 47 since he's ranked number 1 at 47, and he should be looking at the likes of the winner of Manny Pacquiao and Barrios, or more specifically, he really should be looking at Brian Norman, because I don't know how you're just going to leapfrog everybody, or he should really have to fight Blair, Brian Norman, Barrios, or if Jin Sasaki make a good out and go hold 12 or whatever, Jin Sasaki, or the winner of Brian Norman and Jin Sasaki, something along that level. Boots should be going to 154. I mean, I know he wants to get undisputed, but it should either be fight Brian Norman. It should either be fight Brian Norman after he gets through with Jin Sasaki, if he's to pass that test, or move to 154. That's how I think.
Yeah. At this point, at this point, for me, I'm thinking like this.
Lubo.
What purpose does it actually have at this junction in time? What purpose does it actually have for Boots to stay at 47? Because Barrios is getting ready to go in a different direction. Brian Norman is going in a different direction. That means you really don't have, you feel what I'm saying? That much to look at for Boots as far as legacy goes, unless he just says, you know what, before I move up, I'm gonna get this fight out the way that everybody's talking about. I'm gonna just fight Blair Cobb, and once I move up to 47, my first fight at 54, I'm gonna try to do a Conor Benn at 54. So that would be a nice way for Conor Benn to make, blah blah blah. We both make a splash in a big way at 54 to put everybody on notice. That fight over in the UK for me says a lot. You feel what I'm saying? Because you got a solid name coming off a solid previous performance in the perception of reality checkbox. It was a solid performance against Chris Eubanks. So with that being said, you've got momentum behind your name to make a big fight at 54, and this is where the two of you say, you know what, we're both going to stay here at 54. That's how you make that statement right there. But for Barrios and Brian Norman Jr., either Boots is after the Jin Sasaki fight, or Boots is not fighting you at all. For Mario Barrios, you beat Manny Pacquiao. Either Boots is your next fight, or Boots ain't fighting you at all either. You feel what I'm saying? So I'm just trying to figure out, where does Boots fit himself in at 47? When you're talking about now a Teofimo Lopez, or the Turk is talking about it. Now, here's the problem with it. Boots, are you big enough now? Are you big enough now to go in a different direction than what the Turk wants you to go into? Knowing that you can sell out in Philly. You packed out a 14,000 seat joint in Philly, but your last fight you only did 9,000 at the gate. At least that's the reports that's being out there right now. So you can sell in Philly, but outside of Philly, you're still having struggles. So are you in a position to tell a Sheik, no, I don't want the Teofimo Lopez fight? I don't think so, bro. So now you got yourself in a situation to whereas you have your own agenda, but now you lied in bed with Big Dick, Big Daddy Pimp, who just like, look, you either sit on it or you get your ass back out on the street and do what the fuck I tell you to do. That's his choice right now, and it's kind of like fucked up to me to a certain degree.
yeah, like it's like you I don't know if you want to go against this guy because I always say, man, every sugar daddy he gonna want some sugar. You know what I'm saying? Like
Exactly. Grass cash your ass. Nobody rides for free.
so look, this is the thing. This is the way I see it. I could say that yes, because this was the problem before. Boots couldn't move up before this legacy fight. He couldn't move out without a lot of people saying, "Well, what have he done?" Like almost like what Bakram said, how Bakram was talking and shit. I was just like, "Oh, I thought he was the boogeyman up until then." Like, boogeymen don't really turn down no smoke. You know what I'm saying? Especially something like that. But once he checked the block and he nixed out Stan Giannis, now you got some legacy. Now you're unified. You got your ring. Now they can't say anything because you actually unified. That's the same knock that they actually have on Tank, which people are willing to speak about. Oh, he never unified. He ain't shit because look at him. He hasn't done shit in boxing. Okay, so Boots, he nixed that by becoming unified. So what he's looking at is he stayed with Turk and he goes with the Turkey game plan, which we can see now that, yes, he's given us some things that we can say, okay, he gave us undisputed at heavyweight. He gave us undisputed at light heavyweight. He gave us a couple good fights. He gave us a good 5v5, you know, but he has to either go with that game plan or if he rips away from that or just goes with what Eddie has. Eddie has Conor Ben. And then the manager of Blair to Flair, he can work because Blair to Flair is independent. He just got a manager. So those are two good names, right? Blair at 47, or Conor Ben at 54.
Yeah.
Or 47.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is you in bed with Eddie. I don't know what happens because I think that was the last fight on his deal. And now he has legacy to where he can't be turned down. To be honest, all of his big money fights are either with the Conor Ben or they at PBC. You got Lubin, you got Mel, you got Fondor, you got Tim Tszyu, you got then with Turkey, you still got the Virgil Ortiz or Gold. That's really Golden Boy, but Golden Boy, he got Virgil. You got Madrimov. You got so many other names that you can move around if it's at 54. If it's at 47, Eddie has to come up off the purse and be realistic about these offers, especially when we know he opened up the purse for Stan Giannis. He opened up the purse for Karen the second time. It's like if you're not opening up the purse, we can't point a finger on who really wants to fight who because Brian Norman is just living his life doing what he need to do for his career, and it's actually working. It's aging like fine wine because he's getting a big ass bag. He's becoming international. He's crossing over, and if he go over there and knock him out, he has a history of being a world warrior where I don't have to have everything set up like you. I'm not asking you to come to my backyard down in Atlanta, you know what I'm saying, and do what I need. No, they're starting to make it look like Boots has to be at home. He has to have all the advantages. All these people have to either move up from 40 to go see him or take less money and do all this other, like some real super duper A-side shit where he may be the A-side. But it does not fare well when thinking that they really want these fights by asking everybody to basically bend over backwards to make them.
Yeah.
When you could just move up to 54 where all your big names are at, where the money's going to come if you fight those names. Now, you might be in Vegas. You might have to go down to Texas. You know what I'm saying? You might go across the pond, in Sheffield or one of them big ass H2 or whatever to do that.
Yeah. And that's the reality of where Boots is these days. You know what I'm saying? I kind of feel like this. Sometimes people miss the opportunity. You feel what I'm saying? You're a guy who's riding a bike and your people don't want to take the training wheels off yet. But every time you take your bike, there's dudes coming down your block doing wheelies. There's cats on a couple of unicycles. is a dude wheelies with one hand and stuff like that. You feel what I'm saying? So by the time you're ready to take the training wheels off, you now have to compete with the same dudes that been wheeling while you had training wheels. So the problem you're gonna have is, does anybody really want to see you? And sometimes, you know, for me, when I look at dudes who, you know, spend too much time developing, then it's like, ooh, you didn't really strike the iron when it was hot. So now you got to try to redevelop now that you have a name and you have momentum, because all the work you did prior to that is almost null and void unless it's somebody who was really, really watching you. So it's like, did they wait a little bit too long for Boots? You feel what I'm saying? Did he stay in the background a little bit too long? Did he miss opportunities by not fighting Conor Ben and Blair Cobbs when he should have? You know what I'm saying? Did he miss opportunities when he could have fought Virgil early on at 47? These are still questions that, you know, are not aging well for Boots. You feel me? Because once you get up to 54, then the whole Virgil thing was going to come back. Now, Virgil is a nigga that's, you know, he could ride a unicycle, he could wheelie with one hand, or you feel what I'm saying? Now he's out here wheeling mopeds and mini bikes and shit like that. You feel what? And you just got your training wheels off. So it's like, bro, I don't know for Boots, man. I don't know. I don't know.
See, I think Boots, he's gonna run into this problem that I think Maul ran into it. Jamal ran into it when he moved up, and Errol Spence ran into it. To where it's a fine line when you know you have the influence and the backing to where they're going to do whatever they need to do to make these fights, or you're going on good faith that these guys want to make the fight. Because you can say, oh man, he's good, he got a nutritionist, he's don't worry about this and don't, you know, we can only go about something that actually already happened. When he fought Karen the second time, I didn't get up for this guy. Maybe I should go to 54. You know, maybe it is the weight, you know, this and that. It's like, well, we can see it, and we already seen how you fought just now, where you still had to cut the weight, but since you was able to rehydrate, you look damn good against Stanionis, a guy who we thought was more durable than what he showed to be in that fight. You know, a little stronger than what he showed, and maybe it was because your punch resistance was better, maybe because you had more energy, maybe your gas tank was better. So what if we see you where you don't have to cut down as much and you can rehydrate a little bit more? You'll probably look even better. But what you're going to do is you're going to run the risk of these promises, and Lord forbid you have something on deck and a guy pulls out or a guy gets hurt. Look at Teofimo Lopez and what happened when he went up against Kambosos. That fight got postponed 2 times. And it didn't fare well for Tio. You had longer training camps. You putting your body down there at that weight, you know what I'm saying, longer than it should be. And then for one, you are a big dude for the weight class already. So all you're doing is putting off the inevitable, to where because it's gonna be an excuse. Like if you fuck around and you gotta take this Gear Soft fight, and let's just say the Norman don't, let's just say hypothetically, we hoping that it happened by the end of this year, but let's just say you're going into the next year. Well, Brian Norman, he's probably going to get another fight. He's probably going to have if it goes into next year, if it's like in 2026, he's probably going to have a next fight, and by that time he's going to look way better. He's 24, you 27, you're going to be 28. Like he's natural 47. You looking like a natural 54, 60 pounder. And you've been there forever. So you're going to run the risk to where when you finally get in the ring with him, we're not going to want to hear, oh man, y'all should have been moved up and did this. Because then I'm going to be like, nope, your hindsight is 2020 looking at us, and you should have been moved up and led part 2 of your killing spree. Don't worry about these fans and all the legacy shit. Yeah, they did that email shit. Yeah, they said, oh, you just email champion. yeah, you got out of line with Bud and all of that. You right that wrong by going ahead and get Stan Giannis. Go to 54 and start plucking people off or getting, or dancing with the names. Because that's going to come with the pay. And you're going to be rehydrated. You're not going to have to scrape down as low. Especially if you keep your nutritionist, you're not going to have to scrape down as low, and you can rehydrate more. You probably look even better.
Yeah.
So I think the bigger, like Devontae saying right here, he has bigger fights at 54. That's what I'm saying. It's like nobody's hating on Boots. Nobody's saying, oh yeah, it's your right to be at 47. If you can make the weight and you're willing to wait around for these guys, but I'm telling you, these guys are looking at you being on the clock as leverage. And if it's part of the game in boxing to where, these boxers maneuver and they position themselves to where they have all of the advantages. Well, another advantage is knowing that you want the belt, so they can play a little bit more hardball with the money. They can know that, oh, well, shit, I'm going to be here. You're going to have to move up soon, so I can just wait and fight somebody else for your shit soon as you leave. You know what I'm saying? So Eddie has to manage this man right. I don't know why the Conor Ben, because I had already said, I put up a thumbnail. It was a video I did a while ago called The Elephant in the Room, just like this, where I had a picture of Conor Ben in boots on one side, and I had Shakur Stevenson and Andy Cruz on the other side. And I said, man, since everybody talking this in-house shit, I said, Eddie be having a lot of answers in-house, and he don't use them. Yet we have Shakur talking about a Conor Ben and not Boots or Eddie.
Yep. And that's the crazy shit. And we just like, okay, why is nobody, why is nobody mentioning Conor Ben's name? You feel what I'm saying? Because they're like, oh, wow, I didn't expect him to go up there and be able to throw that many punches by jumping up 2 weight classes that fast. You feel what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, man, it's like, look, you have your legacy. Your legacy is not really there at 47. You've already accomplished that because they jumped the accolade gun. Yes, it was the number 1 and number 2 guy. But the question for some fans and a fan like me is, okay, leading up to that, what were those 2 definitive fights? That says, for sure, these are the 2 best guys at 47. Where was that rom-com at? So I didn't see it. So I questioned the legitimacy of the ring thing. But perception is reality. Number 1, number 2, you did your thing. You beat the brakes off of him, made the dude quit. You legitimized yourself as far as the perception is reality, and what the casual fans are saying, what the promotion was after that. Go to YSM, go to Breadman or one of them dudes. They'll say, listen, this is why Crawford ain't never wanted to see that man. This is why Earl ducked him for so long. So it's like, okay, all right, if that's what y'all gonna say, all right, fine. No problem. Okay, so why is your boy not moving up to 54 where all of those names are actually waiting for him? Where he can just say, listen, I'm already lineal champion. I'm already unified champion. Undisputed, does it really matter when the level of competition, if I beat these guys easily, they're going to say, yeah, his path to undisputed is a little questionable because neither one of those guys really had the experience. Although Barrios does have the better resume. But this is what they're going to say because perception is reality. So, listen, bro, you have at this point, Boots, this is probably your glass ceiling for 47. If you can make one of these fights right after this, like Eddie was trying to say, like, look, why can't you just make the fight? Why can't we just go into a 2-fight deal right now? And then, we'll discuss the details later. Because the man said he only wants to focus on this. And if he enters a deal or negotiation, then he's in breach of contract of that fight. You feel what I'm saying? Because it wasn't a multi-fight deal. You know that, Eddie. It's just the fans don't know that about contracts. So you're being disingenuous. He cannot go into a negotiation with you right now. You feel what I'm saying? It's too late. That door is closed. and plus your boy got his mandatory. He's got to deal with Giasov. So we're not going to play that game again. We're not going to do that again, Eddie. So if the fight is going to happen after this and possibly after your Giasov fight. So let's get that. Let's be honest about that, Eddie Hearns.
Right, and that's the thing. It's not like somebody became eligible after you won the belt. No, you inherited, meaning you knew when the fight took place. It came with a mandatory. It was a +1. That belt came with a +1.
Yeah.
And then with that shit that they just did that I didn't agree with anyway, with Devin and Rolly fighting for that interim, I didn't agree with that. So that's next in line because that's the belt that Stanionis had before he got fully elevated to world champ. So it's like you and then this is another elephant in the room. This is another elephant in the room. It's funny how it's all this pressure for Norman, and they forget, they never mention that Norman is with Top Rank. They never mention it. But when it comes down to this guy right here on the far left, when all the belts was over there at Top Rank, oh man, that's the other side of the street. Oh man, Tank gotta, oh man. But when it comes to Norman, that's never discussed.
Yeah.
Even though we can say it don't look like Top Rank thought that Norman was gonna be what he is. He just keep proving them wrong, and his cachet is building over time. But they never recognize that. Now all the pressure, oh man, Boots gotta do this, he gotta do this. And when it comes, oh, he just gotta take whatever. It's like, no, well, why when it comes to certain fighters, y'all want to acknowledge that oh man, that's Top Rank. It's like, well, why y'all not doing that with Norman? Y'all only doing it because of the favoritism that y'all giving Boots, when I'm thinking like, listen, you got to be able to judge these guys and put them all on the scale and look at them in a vacuum. If you look at Boots, he's with Eddie Hearn, and he probably has some backing with Sheik, because Sheik is starting to insert names associated with him, and that's because of the bag that he can use for that. But you still have the mandatory thing that you got to deal with. So it's not fair to Brian Norman to keep attaching and saying Brian Norman got to do all this and he ducking and he doing all this, but then there's no accountability for the things that Eddie say. There's no accountability for the things that Boots say. There's no accountability for the fact that the sanctioning bodies have a say when you're fighting using their belt.
Yeah. And
so
go ahead.
So that's the thing with Boots. Because I don't want this to sound like I'm cooking Boots, but that's the thing with Boots. I'm just giving a elephant in the room conversation around him, but go ahead.
Yeah, so I just wanted to just seal the deal and land the plane on this. During the Avanesian press conferences, the very first two press conferences, Eddie Hearn kept on saying, yeah, we have an offer. We just got off the phone or on a video call with His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh, and he has an offer right on the table for Jerome Boots Ennis versus Terrence Crawford. Whatever happened to that? So this is not something that I'm using to say I'm getting at Boots, although Boots said send it. What I'm saying is the games Eddie Hearn plays. You feel what I'm saying? So for me, you do a good job when you're talking about promoting your fighter, to get everybody to believe that Brian Norman Jr. was scared to fight Jerome Boots Ennis. So was Charles Conwell. So was Virgil Ortiz, even though their side was saying no, we want to stay whatever. But you still convinced, without saying it directly, you still convinced a whole section of boxing fans that these people are ducking. And I just think that's brilliant when it comes down to fight promotions. If you can take that energy and actually put it into the card, every one of the cards that you put on should be like, oh my God, an event. It should be like getting ready to watch Floyd Mayweather versus Manny Pacquiao over and over and over and over again when you're talking about the level of excitement for the fight that you put on. But that's not what we're getting. You know what I'm saying? And to the I'll just land it right there.
Okay. Well, yeah, you know, it is brilliant. Like, and that's why I say Eddie has grown on me. I just don't like how he gets away with certain things when it comes to certain fighters, because I look at it like this. When I and I'm gonna answer your question, L Dub, but when I look at this is what I'm talking about right here. When I asked this question a long time ago, I asked this question: are they making American boxing great again? And I was like, I had to give him a 3. I had to give him a 3 out of 5. Why? Because American boxers are getting paydays. They are getting bags. And we want our fighters to get paid because they get hit in the head for a living. We don't. So yes, they do. But to allow Eddie Hearn to use his influence, because I said that he's been very good at procuring American talent and getting them under his wing to develop his fighters across the pond and throw big venues across the pond, right? But as far as the American boxing, it's almost like every time he procures talent from over there, he robs something from over here. And to get a talent from Philly, to get a talent from New Jersey, to get a talent from California, and then use those to derail and berate American fighters and shit on their thing because of your pull and what you have, it's not right. Like, just because you got boots, that don't mean you should create an atmosphere where everybody want to shit on the Normans. I don't care who you think would win. You know what I'm saying? But it's wrong when you have all the answers. And when I talked to Blair the Flair, I asked him, I said, man, it seemed like every time you got your momentum, it's like somehow, some way, you lost the momentum off the Maurice Hooker win. You lost your momentum and didn't go into a big fight. It was a big gap. Off of your AB, who a lot of people was gunning for, or saying they wanted. I know Devin was saying he wanted him. I know Conor Ben wanted him. There's a lot of, but Blair was the first one to get him. After that fight with the AB, the whole knocking the tooth out and all that, you didn't get another fight. So you lost out on your momentum. I'm like, well, what better momentum would you have if you're willing to do some crazy stuff and you know Boots is flirting with 54? You just had lightning in a bottle where you put on a freak show that I was kind of against and everybody loved it. Whether they was from over here or across the pond, everybody loved it. So you got Conor Ben with all this momentum. He was looking to get the Ryan. He was looking to get a Ryan fight. That's why he went over there. That kind of got fucked up. But you got Conor Ben with this momentum. You got Boots coming off of his legacy fight with momentum. Now they're names. Yeah. And then if my memory served me correct, didn't Conor Ben move up in the IBF ranking?
Yes, sir.
So Conor Ben had moved all the way up in the IBF ranking. He got this momentum. So if you're going to do the messy stuff, and and since we know you're pretty much geared towards in-house shit that you can really control, and the history of losing the purse bids, why was there never no conversation about Boots and Conor Ben? But why create all this slander for another American fighter, knowing damn well if you're not going to put the money up and this is all clout and you know you got Giasov, why do that, Eddie? So I had to call Eddie out and be truthful about him, because everybody want to ride his nuts, basically to be popular, get likes, clicks, and views. I'm not going to do that. I give him his props for saying, man, Eddie know how to spot some talent. I love what Eddie was able to do with Ray Ford. I love what Eddie was able to do with Richardson Hitchens, coming off of the TMT thing. I'm still questioning what he did with Tito Mercado. I don't like what happened with Sabril Matias. But when I look down at all of the talent that he acquired, I would say I give him a 3 out of 5 for what he was able to do.
Yeah.
But I got to keep it a buck on Eddie and the moves as it relates to Boots, because some of this shit don't make no sense. Let me see. L Dub said, which PBC 154 will Virgil fight next? Thurman, Charlo, or Spence?
Either one is a good fight for me. I'm good with either or any of them. Don't matter.
I think Spence, for some reason, Spence is the most ideal. To see Spence down there in that Dallas stadium would be ideal. I don't know, even though Spence is my guy, I don't know where he's at. I wouldn't want him to come right back and get in there with Virgil, even though Spence is kind of stubborn, where he probably ain't gonna want to do what Keith Thurman did, go take somebody that's not like the big bad wolf first and get his feet wet and then go into something. But I think more than likely it'll be Charlo. It'll be Charlo more than likely, I think. You know what I'm saying? Or if they want to give, I would like to see. I wouldn't mind seeing Jesus Ramos and Virgil Ortiz get it on. Cobbs lost his momentum after AB because he signed with Don King. We know. Yeah, that was bad. I ain't want to hate on Don King, man, but yeah, that was a big problem. Cobbs just signed with Eubank Junior manager, maybe. Yeah. And Diego Pacheco, that's our guy too. Me and AC are high on Diego Pacheco. We actually called him winning against, even though we like So Cold, we actually picked and had to go to war with the tribe over that.
Yeah, bro. Because we talk to people who are, fighting at a B&B, boxing academy. And boy, when we were saying what the dude was heated, like, nah, I'm B&B all the way, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, look, I'm just looking at the numbers, man. And stylistically, the numbers, he just can't beat him. He's not going to beat him. He got him in trouble to where it was like, whoa, uh-oh. But Diego stayed true to the game, and he got the victory. So it wasn't an easy fight for Pacheco, but it was a good fight to watch.
Yeah, he made his adjustments. I think he learned a lot, and it was a style. That's one of them. That was a career building, career defining fight, because we both was in shock when the fight was announced. I said, hold on. It was just like when David Morrell and David Benavidez got announced. We was like, oh shit, like these are two fights to where I can't believe they actually making these matches, because they were good fights, and I'm like, not that for where they were at in their career, I didn't think they were going to do it. And so I actually enjoyed that fight, but we've been high on Pacheco, man.
We were saying it like this. For Diego Pacheco to go ahead and take the bait and make the fight with So Cold, that's not the thing that a young fighter is supposed to do in this era. So you completely broke the mold with that. And for a fighter that's a crafty veteran like So Cold, that's a fight against that type of young talent, is a fight that you're not supposed to take, coming off the momentum you just had by stopping the guy on Bud's undercard. And now the cool part about it is you go from an undercard fight to now headlining a card. So we were like, whoa, something's wrong. A meteor is going to crash into the planet. Something crazy about to happen, because this shit is not supposed to happen in this era of boxing. But it happened, and we were honest about our opinion about the fight, and yes, it made a good fight. You feel what I'm saying? Just like we're looking at, for me, I was talking about the Sasaki versus Brian Norman fight. I took a lot of flack for that. What sense does Brian Norman? He don't need to go over there. He could fight this guy. He could fight that guy. Yeah, traveling overseas. I don't see why American fighters need to do that when these guys should be coming to America. Well, they got a whole country behind them. A whole country, not a portion of the country, not a selective voter block. You feel what I'm saying? So that's what it is. That's why, because boxing is global. But sometimes it takes people to see what the guys who are constantly involved in it, and get lucky and come upon an insight that's clear as day, but nobody else sees it. That's what happens. So yeah, man, it's we'll be looking at a lot more stuff like that, But I think me and you are pretty right there. Like, Charlo would be the best choice, but I think as far as active and making the best fight, it might be Boots versus Keith Thurman. Virgil versus Keith Thurman. That might be the fight, because I ain't gonna lie, man. recency bias still got me thinking of his last performance. Like, damn, Keith looked sharp as hell. Like, he didn't look like he had ring rust at all. So
Yeah, I think my thing is, man, it's risky for Thurman because, man, Virgil, he does some of the most hellacious body work out there. And with an older Keith Thurman, I think he'll press the action and he'll go to Keith's body. And I only like that fight if Keith is getting right back in there. If Keith stay out too long right now, I don't want to see it. You know what I'm saying? Because I want to see a competitive fight. I think that's a style clash because Keith Thurman can box and he got power. So if he get in there and get to making Virgil miss and making him pay, and Virgil can't get in on the inside and get to that body, that's a great fight. But I don't want to see it if Thurman stays out too long. So I agree with y'all on Thurman. That's what L Dub was saying too.
yeah.
Then he asked about he was saying Pacheco. He said Pacheco, the WBO mandatory is next in rotation for Canelo versus Crawford winner, and I don't think Nello will go anywhere near him. But for that reason, for what you said, to rub it in Benavidez's face, I could see it. But I think that would be, he would get, man. I believe Pacheco would. I ain't gonna say because until I see him get stopped or get at least get dropped again, I ain't gonna say that'll happen. But I think that'll be bad for Canelo, especially with them feet, with him aging. And then that'll be after coming off another fight with Bud. Like, I don't know. You know, I think he going to ride off in the sunset for some reason. I don't know what he going to do at 68 because them little guys, not little guys, but them guys, them green guys, I don't know how much longer he can get away with fighting all these green guys coming up or you know, the ones that people don't really want him to fight after Bud. I don't know how many times he can pick another guy like that, you know.
Yeah,
so I don't know.
And fucking around with Pacheco, that might be a banana peel.
It definitely would, man.
He knows how to use that range, man. You know what I'm saying? He knows how to use that shit like a motherfucker. Yes, so Cole got in on him and stuff like that, but you know, again, recency bias tells me that, you know, Canelo doesn't have that attribute like what's his name was saying yesterday. He doesn't have that attribute of getting inside the way he used to. So I don't know. And Diego's gonna be right there with a jab in his face. So I don't know how that one goes.
And when you try to maneuver around a jab, that left is coming.
Yes, sir. And he's, you know, nasty.
And he accurate with that motherfucker. And them uppercuts, like you seen what William Scar was able to do with them uppercuts when he stopped that one when he caught Canelo real good. Mm-hmm. That's gonna be all night. Because if you recall, Steve Nelson was doing that. He had some good upper mobility. He could get on the inside in the beginning when he wanted to and all that. But then he started tasting that jab, and then them uppercuts start coming. And it was a point in time where I thought he was getting ready, like, kind of close the show, but Steve Nelson gathered his bearings and showed that he had dog, but he was on his way out with them uppercuts. I don't think Canelo
his body work is underrated too, because them body shots be taking a lot out of a motherfucker early. You know, he's just not. He's a young talent that is fighting to his ability, and that's the scary part. Scary part about Diego Pacheco. You know what I'm saying? That's why I'm really big on this young kid, and I hope, you know, he goes far and stay, you know, trying to get the competition that people will say, I don't know if Pacheco wins this fight. If he's always in fights like that, you can't take nothing away from Diego Pacheco.
That's one of the guys I give Eddie a lot of credit for, man. That's a diamond in the rough. He got that guy out of East LA. He got a fan base. He's a family man. He keep his nose clean. Once he get to talking a little bit more, I mean, he talks a little bit, but like I ain't saying straight smack. But once he really get to where it's like he find out his little persona as far as the media, not being all like crazy with it, he gonna be a star. He's a star in the making, man. Eddie did good. That's why I say he do a good job at procuring the talent. It's just how he got to match him, you know. But this the last part of the we'll part coming to it. I want to talk about Devin. I noticed this because I say it's a lot of people. You can say whatever you want about Tank, and people do that. But there's certain fighters to where once you keep it a buck on them, people automatically equate to the fact that you're hating. Now, I believe kind of like Devin is in a dilemma. Everybody's trying to sick him on TO and say, oh man, they need that. Well, they got history. But I'm not sure after that last performance if we want to see that. Would you want to see TO and Devin?
At this point, not right now. Devin looks like he needs, just from his last performance, you look like he may need, 1 or 2 more fights before I could even really start to entertain a TO fight. Because it's not going to do you any favors if you go out and fight TO the way you fought, what's his name? Because TO's going to clown it. He's going to stand right there in the middle of the ring and be like, what's going on? He's going to look at the ref and point at you and stuff like that. And it's going to be a nightmarish type of situation. So, no, I don't want to see Devin and TO right now. Not at all. I want to see Devin go in there and actually box or fight somebody. And then that'll let me know whether or not you're ready.
So, could we ask this question? And as our resident Devin Haney guy, I asked you, did we get any answers, from the fight? You said, yeah, we got an answer on the fact that he's not scared to get back in there, which is good. You know what I'm saying? Which is good. He took his time. Some people say he was suspended for 8 months, so, he took his time and he got back in there. So we know he's not afraid to get back in there, but as far as being able to not take the left hook, not stand there and trade or whatever, but like being fearful of taking a punch. He looked a little skittish to me. There's even interviews out there where Shane said that wasn't the game plan. Bill saying that he executed the game plan fine, which was really just to go in there and just basically get the dub. But going forward, especially with him being at that catch weight of 144, what's next for Devin?
That's the hardest question because, if you pick up a nickname like, oh, you're running or you're boring, then it makes it hard for a fight to be made because boxing is a business, it is a sport, but when you classify the sport, we watch sports for entertainment. And right now, your last performance was not entertaining. Maybe to a Devin only fan, it was to them they could say it was entertaining to watch him skate around the ring like that. But for me, that's not what I wanted to see. Those questions that I wanted to see: are you willing to just trade and be smart about your trading? What did you learn? What were your takeaways after the Ryan fight? Will we see those takeaways in this fight? Because you picked the right opponent. You feel what I'm saying? So all you had to do was really show up and show out. And if that was your version of showing up and showing out, then you leave a fan like myself to say, I think you need more fights before you're ready to take on any of the really challenging big names, especially looking at 47. You know what I'm saying? Granted, there are not a lot of guys at 47 that are experienced in cutting the ring off like that. You feel what I'm saying? But if I had to ask the question, based on your performance, would I want to see you against, an up-and-coming fighter like Rohan Polanco? I would probably say yeah, but if it came down to it, who you got winning, I'd say, well, if Rohan could cut off the ring on Dev and force him to fight, Rohan could probably win that fight or catch him with that same punch. It looked like he working on that. I don't see no other young fighter work on that Triple G punch. It's not really the Triple G punch, it's the Rocky Marciano punch, but Triple G made it famous in this era. So yeah, that's the way I feel. I could name a bunch of fighters right now that I would have to question whether or not my guy Devin Haney could beat them. And it's like, damn, Dev, see what you see the dilemma you created here. I wanna talk more highly of you and be like, yeah, to some of these guys I feel like hating. I'm like, yeah, but he just outboxed this guy. He wasn't afraid. People said X, Y, and Z, but look at that performance. I can't say that about you, bro. I just gotta hold it, be quiet, and be like, yeah, whatever they're gonna criticize him with, they gotta criticize him until he puts on that type of performance. Then it is what it is. I'm not gonna say the weird shit and get into weird ass debates over trying to find a caveat to put that silver or gold lining around that performance. I don't want to have to do that. To say, oh, well, according to them guys, they said the concubines, he was landing 49% of his power shots, so he was extremely accurate when he did decide to throw. So fucking what? How long was it in between those throwing the punches that we had to watch him stand there, dip and dive like, you can't get me, uh-oh, Haney, and then break out on the nigga? You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think it's a shame because I was going over this when we was live. We was live over there on Pop Show, and I was having this conversation. I said, man, it's crazy how when you looked at the fights, when you looked at the Skull and the Canelo, and you looked at Ramirez and Devin, how they warranted that Devin won the fight because Jose couldn't cut the ring. But they warranted that Skull was trash, even though Canelo really didn't cut the ring. And then they resorted to CompuBox. And I said, well, that's kind of crazy when you're looking at a difference of 5 punches. 5 punches over 12 rounds. That's not even a half a punch a round. Yeah. So I'm like, it's bullshit because in essence was the A side won those fights. And I gave another example about how of recent past, Regis and Zorilla started this. They set a record for the least landed. Then De Los Santos and Shakur came, only they gave Shakur the boring moniker, even though we give an exception because he had the hand issue. Okay, cool. But Zorilla and Regis did it, and Zorilla actually beat Regis, in my opinion, and Regis is one of my guys. He even dropped Regis. But once again, all 3 of those examples, the A side won. Now, the thing is, the elephant in the room when it comes to Devin Haney is they do this weird thing, and I love it, but I hate it at the same time. Whereas they stay on code for Devin, right? Because a lot of people out here on YouTube with their talking points and what they do is what they don't reveal to you is that the reason why they choose to go so hard for Devin is because they believe that they're staying on code, meaning that at the end of the day, they want the young black man to win. And he got the dub and he did what he needed to do. I wasn't looking what y'all wanted him to do. Y'all wanted him to stand there and just get hit. Y'all want rock him, sock him. It's like, no, that's gaslighting. That's psychological manipulation, trying to make us question our reality and playing on our perception and not believing our lying eyes. I love the fact that you want to stay on code and say, oh man, that was good. The black man, he got back in there. He was able to get another victory. He was able to show that he's not washed, and all this and all that. That's one thing. But if we put them on the scale like we do everybody else and we critique the performance, we knew that Jose Ramirez, even though you could say he's nothing to shake a stick at, the opponent selection, once again, was an older gentleman who many can reason that he was past his prime. I was over there on Pop's channel several times saying that to me, he looked punchy. And then we had already seen Arnold Barbosa, and I think that Arnold Barbosa washed him better than Devin did. So when we looked at it, we said, okay, well, we understand the opponent selection. Why? Because he does have an semblance of a left hook. He can get on the inside and do some damage if you let him. But we thought that the threat of a Jose Ramirez against Devin didn't warrant Devin to be that skittish.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yes, use your legs. Use your legs. That's why it's like I kind of got to give some pushback to the running rule. At first, I was like, oh, it might be good, but then I'm like, no, it might not. But yes, use your legs. Be elusive if you need to. Don't stand there and be no punching bag. But also, we want you to show, since you're regarded as being one of those guys that say, oh man, there's levels in this boxing shit. Show that there's truly levels. Not showing that you want to exploit this one guy's weakness for the whole fight, regardless of what the fans want to say, because at the end of the day, you are still in the entertainment business. That's one of the same criticisms that Shakur get, to where it's like, we understand you're going to get out with the dub. Yeah, but as fans, we want to be entertained, or we want to see an actual fight.
Yeah. Now, for me, I'm gonna land my plane on this. We saw who Ramirez was. Me and you cooked on why he picked Ramirez, and then you did the other show after that. Was he getting an unfair play by some of the criticism? You know what I'm saying? So you cooked on both sides of the fence. Now, for me, the way, looking at Ramirez and then hindsighting that fight, you could have went in there and simply fought Ramirez the same way you fought Kambosos the very first time. You used your feet and you beat him with one punch, which was a jab. And if he got in close on you, you hit him with the body shot, and then you wrapped him up. You could have did Ramirez the same way, and people would have been like, yeah, Dev is back. Dev is back. He's calculated. He was methodical. Those are the things that, I myself, as a Devin Haney fan, was always looking for and looking at. So yeah, I could state to a certain degree, yeah, homeboy is back. Maybe one more fight he'll have his full confidence, but I'd say he's probably like 75% back right now, and nobody would have had anything negative to say about it. But you went with the game plan you felt was best for you, and you know what I'm saying? It leaves fans like myself and probably other fans of yours like, what did we just watch? We waited for you to come back for a year, and this is what we got. I'm a little confused now, because the way that dude fought, you could have beat that nigga the same way you beat George Kambosos. At least George was trying to do shit. This nigga wasn't even doing that. So yeah, minimal punches, great footwork, just using your jab, tie him up whenever you get too close, spin him around. Yeah, we would have felt that you was there. And that's where I landed. It was just, overall, it was disappointing for me as a Devin Haney fan.
Yeah. So I'll say this, man. I'm not gonna come down on him, man, too hard, because it was a comeback fight, and I'll give him grace for that. My only thing is this: when it comes to Devin, it seems like if you're gonna say, okay, it's levels in boxing, and I'm this and I'm that, I'm racing towards the Mount Rushmore. Like, that's what Bill said. We're rushing. This is the Devin Haney era, and we're racing towards Mount Rushmore as we speak. It's like, okay, if you're gonna have the levels conversation, or your name is gonna be put in the levels, it's levels in boxing, and you're one of those guys, and people still saying that you're pound for pound in the top 10 pound for pound, you shouldn't be in the matchmaking phase anymore.
Yeah.
Like, you shouldn't be to where people are trying to, oh, well, who could he fight? And okay, well, no, we don't want to see him against that right now. It's okay, well, if there's levels, you are eliminated from that conversation. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you love Devin, if you got DHP underwear, under rules. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, I think he put himself back in a matchmaking category. And until he gets out of that, I'm not sure where he goes. So I'm not going to cook him, but I'm just going to say, man, if you're going to have a responsible boxing conversation, we can't say that there's levels and then we'll be concerned with who we're going to match him against, and we're going to still allow him to fight these older guys. Because I went through the resume before, when his biggest knee pad wearing fan was trying to say that he went through murderer's row, and I'm like, what murderer's row? Because the age gap between him and Gamboa was like 10 years. The age gap between him and Loma was damn near 10 years. The age gap between him and Regis was like 7 or 8. The age gap between him and Jose Ramirez was significant as well. Him and Linares significant as well. So it's like, you all are playing on this. That's why I call him a cougar. And people say, oh, you're hating. And my rebuttal is always, you just don't like the truth. Yes, there are names. Yes, they have been significant in the game. They have names. They've done things in the past. Jose Ramirez. You cannot take away from him that he was a two-time champ and his tenure in the game and some of the names that he fought and discount his resume. No, you cannot. But it's the time in which you face these guys we got to consider. Yeah. The fact that that's an advantage to where you've seen numerous blueprints on how to beat these guys, especially if they're coming off of a loss. You just seen a new blueprint on how to beat them. So if you go into a fight against him and the guy before you beats him better than you did and you chose him off of a loss, miss me with the levels conversation.
Yeah. Now, there's certain fighters that are my favorite fighters in this era. And the reason why I came to the understanding of saying, if we're talking the best fighting the best, you got to put it in 3 categories, because you got the best name, the best competition that's available, and then the actual best guy. So when you look at these 3 components, right, Devin checks off, and he's good at checking off the box of fighting the biggest name. So when you look at it and you look at some of these guys he fought, all of these guys he fought, even though he fought them late, they were all big names at one point. Right. You feel what I'm saying? So yeah, okay, you checked off that box. Then when you got in there with the best level of competition that's available, you beat a couple of those guys, and then there was the Ryan Garcia situation. Do you feel what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Now you're skittish, and it's like, bro, how can you be skittish right now or give us that skittish performance when you checked off 2 of the boxes and there's still the 1 box left that you haven't checked off, the actual toughest the actual best competition. So if you could have faced it, you feel what I'm saying? You could have faced it at 35 with Tank, but you wouldn't have won that fight. You wouldn't have even won the fight with Shakur by the time those fights were available to you, because you were having trouble making the weight. At 40, you feel what I'm saying? You play around with Ryan Garcia, who was just another name. But, at the end of the day, that derailed you, and now you want to skip the rest of the real good talent that would be the best fighting the best at 40. You want to remove yourself and stay at a catch weight, to whereas you're not responsible for fighting the best at 47 nor at 40. So I'm asking, what are you trying to do? I want to support you, but I don't know how to support you where you decide to put your career, in a catch weight, which is purgatory. So that's where I land the plane right there, man. Great cook today, Body.
All right, AC. I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'll say this, man, to close out on the Devin thing. If you and your team was confident in being able to call Brian Norman, who is a champion, out for sparring, then what would be up with you calling him out to actually challenge him for his belt? Because if you want to skip over the rest of the guys at 40, i.e. the same thing I said about T.O., where T.O. needs to fight Gary Antoine Russell, Richardson Hitchens, or the winner of Sabril Matias and Puello, those guys should be on the radar. If you're not going to do that, because we already knew you was going for Barrios is tied up. Norman is tied up. Boots, he's quote unquote the man in that division. Those names need to be on your radar. If you're not talking about them or the guys that's like high up there, not guys who you have all these advantages over, you're gonna leave more questions than before. So that's it on Devin, man. People don't hate the guy. People just want to keep the same standards, like with catch weights and opponent selection and the age range and all of that good stuff. I'm gonna land my plane right here on Tank. Tank is the guy that, regardless who's talking, they always want to quote unquote keep it real about Tank. And I hear a lot of outrageous things being said about Tank, and because there's not a lot of people that's going to actually challenge the things that you say, those things actually take hold and people run around with these things as if they are true. One of the things about Tank is, more than likely, even if you're a division lower than him, you pretty much still have some advantages over him. You have the height and the reach, even though Coach Kenny say height don't fight, right? And people like Shakur, they say stuff like skills pay the bills. Well, he's always in a matchup where he don't have all the advantages. Whether you're a weight class below, because he could really campaign at a weight class below, but people will say, oh man, look at him. So the same energy they had when they wanted him to move up and fight Conor Ben, and when that didn't come to fruition, they said he was ducking. We got to keep that same energy. Tank was one of the ones that said Rolly was one of the hardest hitting guys, or the hardest hitting guy that he'd been in the ring with. And Rolly has gone to show that was proven. He was saying, hey man, I might not get a fair shake when I go over there, if I were to go over there and mess with Turkey. Somewhat. Ask Carlos Adames. Ask Rolly Romero. Ask David Benavidez. I mean, he was looking pretty prophetic to me. He also said that Lamont Roach is a lot better than what people, think. And the same people that was shitting on Tank and running around saying, oh, man, he giving us Lamont Roach. Why are you bringing Lamont Roach up and all this and all that? Well, Boots can stay up there at 47 and wait for all these 40s coming up. Devin can move up and bring somebody up, but don't bring them all the way up to a whole nother weight class and make a catch. And make a catch weight. Lamont Roach has proven that he's more than a worthy opponent. I was one of the guys that came out, even though Tank is my guy, and I said that, hey, in my opinion, it looked like Roach had did enough to get his hand raised in that fight, regardless of the knockdown. Why? Because just like Jermell Charlo, when he went up there and fought Canelo, and I didn't like the performance that he put on and how he had his hands in his pockets, I feel like the first 6 rounds, Tank didn't do much. Yeah, sometimes he do have a slow start, but I think that was very uncharacteristic of Tank, and I was on fire the night after. But that's the thing about me. I keep the same energy. Now, we know that Tank had some things on his mind going into that fight. Some people say, oh man, is the fire gone or whatever, because he started looking at the shitty side of boxing, the business of boxing, and saying, listen, man, I just want to make these big fights. I want to make this bag, and I want to go lay down somewhere. I want to go on. He said he wanted to go to school. He wanted to get therapy. He wanted to go through all of this. And it left a lot of us going into that fight was like, well, man, there's Tank head in it. And we had questions about his camp going in. Like, why is he not, why is Coach Calvin and them, we went on to find out that Coach Calvin had just got married. And Coach Calvin is still very active in the community with the youth. He's breeding monsters every day, all day. He's giving back all day, every day. And that's their focus. So the question that we had coming out of the first fight was, do Tank still got love for the game? I think that it was proven because right after that, he said he really didn't like it. He didn't like the results. He said he thought he won, blah, blah, this. But the same people that were saying Lamont Roach and they didn't want to see it are the same people that were saying that he didn't want the rematch, and he was scared to fight Roach, and he better not do this, and he better not do that, and Lamont Roach might be his kryptonite. And all these Lamont Roach fans came out of the woodwork. And I'm like, well, yeah, Lamont Roach, he did his thing in the first fight. I'm one of them ones that I don't believe he can do it again. And I believe that maybe Tank wasn't in the right headspace. I don't make excuses for my guys. I just make observations, and I try to keep it a buck. With that all being said, there's a report out here that is going down on 8/16. and we get to see it again. Tank's going to answer some questions. Whether his head's still in the game, I believe that it'll be more defining after this, because it's, you know, from the time the fight happened until when we get the rematch. I think that he had things on the table that he wanted to get around to. And Lamont Roach, I'm not going to say he ruined the plans, but he pushed them back. You know what I'm saying? He put a little monkey wrench in the plans. So I think we'll get a more focused Tank this go around, right? I think that after the fight, we'll know more of the next opponent, and I don't think we'll have to wait that long after this fight before the next one. But he's been minding his business. He's been training. We have seen him, you know, getting work with at least 2 different trainers. Rumor has it he was right back in the gym that following week because he did not like what actually happened, right? A lot of us, me and my lady mainly, was like, man, Tank will drive you nuts. When you watch his fight, sometimes you be like, man, what is he doing? Yeah, you like, man, frustrated, and then boom, he'll make his adjustments and figure it out and do what he need to do. But I believe this. If you can keep it real and keep it a buck, and you're not ashamed to speak the truth on Tank, and you're so bold and brazen because you know there's always a market being anti-take, you got to be bold and brazen and keep it a buck and keep it 100 on what your favorite fighter is doing. So if your favorite fighter jump out there and say some goofy shit, like, yeah, I'll jump up 3 weight classes and fight this guy, but when you ask him about certain guys, oh no, I'm a lightweight when it comes to this, you got to be able to speak to that. You got to be able to speak to that. If your fighter is the fighter that comes out, he always overpromises and underdelivers, you got to be able to speak to that. If your fighter comes out and yeah, he gets the dub, but he does not live up to your expectations as far as the performance, you got to be able to speak to that without thinking that you're hating or not, without worrying about what other people are saying. Because if you can do it for one, you got to be able to do it for the other. This is a channel that's based on the 3-letter SIC, silence is consent, meaning that all it takes for evil to prevail is for grown men, and I include women, to remain silent. That means if something's going on and something ain't quite right, don't be scared to tell the truth and stop telling everybody that, oh man, you're just a hater. And with this cold shit, if you're going to be on cold, don't just be on cold for the fighter that you like. Don't be out here gaslight talking about, oh man, it's always us, or we always shitting on the black man. But what about the fighter and your fighter that's a black man that shits on everybody else, to include other black men? Like the shit that Eddie got Boots and them doing with the Norman in the slander. The shit that Devin and them be doing with everybody on the opposite end of them with the slander. Those be black people too. But this part-time code, I'm going to clock in and be on code this Saturday. But then when it comes down to this fighter saying this and this and that, oh, I'm not on code no more. Oh, no, that nigga deserve whatever he gets and this and this and that. No, if you're going to be on code all the time. That means that if your fighter is out here slandering and doing shit and saying shit and making moves and putting people mug shots and doing whatever else they doing, punching on carnival workers, be on code then. Be on code then. Don't just be on code when it's time to defend your fighter or not allow people to speak the truth about your fighter. Anyway, this is Fruits and Veggies, Not That Reggie. This is fact-based content, not opinion-based. If you catch this on the playback, talk to me, holler at me, I'll talk back. Thanks for everybody who came through and hollered at me, man. It was a wonderful show. Salute the AC, salute the Boom, Coke Key, L-Dub, Devontae, Easily Baked, his twin, Cam. Who else was in the building? We had a good show, man. I just like putting something on people's mind, man. And if you're gonna have Cookie Monster, if you're gonna have conversations in boxing, man, let's just keep it a buck, man. Let's not gaslight, man. We love boxing and we want to talk about it. But like, if all you want to do is have one of these, what I call them, if all you want to do is have one of these, a sausage party, sausage party, boxing talk, we not with it, man. We tend to, do that body work. We tend to keep things objective. You know what I'm saying? And we're not about this shit right here, this divide and conquer shit that we always doing, where you feel like because you have an allegiance to this and that, you know, I can say this about this and I can say this about that, and I'm gonna be mute about this, and I'm not really going to jump into that. It's like, nah, man. We learned from Earl Spence. We try to keep that same energy, man, all the time. So if you see something, if you hear something, if you know something, don't just let it slide by. Say something about it, man. And let's police up the conversation around boxing so the sport can thrive, because contrary to popular belief, the powers that be listening. They be watching. You know what I'm saying? They actually hear. We do have an influence. But if you're going to sip the Kool-Aid and you're going to keep doing what you're doing when it comes down to your favorite fighter, you're going to find your favorite fighter painting himself in the corner, burning bridges, and being in a bad spot where you're going to look real bad, like justifying a victory for Devin, right? But shitting on somebody like Skull for doing the same thing. Like, come on, man. That's not right. We know that the reason why they won was because of some A-side shit. You know what I'm saying? And if you believe like that, you can't be arguing, or you can't be all upset when the judges do their thing and the referee do their thing and the commentary do their thing, and it's all one-sided and it's all geared towards what the powers that be want, when you're doing the same exact thing in the boxing conversation. That's all I have for you. Thanks for choosing Bodywork Boxing. But we don't take things for face value. We do that body work.
He didn't want to box. He wanted to actually prove that he could punch with you. He was like, what the fuck is this nigga, right? Oh, okay, you want to go to sleep. You tired.
Welcome to